Welcome to Factorio for Dummies Part 2. My name's Valerian, and in this video we are going to set up our first labs and assemblers. Then we will make a basic researching factory. Before we begin, I need to apologize for a mistake I made in the last video. At the end I showed you how to copy-paste. That only works if you've already been far in the game and have gotten robots before. Now you might have gotten robots and didn't know about copy-paste. That's fine. But this knowledge is useless to someone who hasn't had robots yet. So my apologies for that error. Now on with the video. So now that we have gone over the basics of placing and building and mining, etc., we can move on to some more advanced concepts. Forewarning, if I already discussed how to do it in part 1, I may not discuss it here, so please watch part 1 if you are confused or forgot how to do something. This way I can teach new concepts without having to go over old ones repeatedly. This will save us time. So we have copper plates automated, and we have iron plates automated. What's next? Well, we make a lab. Make sure we grab some materials for it. So, go to the box here. We actually have plenty of iron. Let's go over the copper. Pick up the copper plates. And you're gonna go right here, lab, and left click it. Just to let you know, it takes 10 iron gears, electronic circuits, and transport belts. You'll make them automatically to fit this lab recipe. So you left click like that, and it's building in the bottom left corner of the screen. Once we make the lab, place it in a power pole zone and start making red packs. So we're gonna get our lab here that just got done being made, and we're gonna place it down like this and put it in a power pole zone. Oh, real quick, try not to place objects other than power poles, miners, and belts on resource patches. You won't be able to expand your mines later if you do that. So if it's like a lab, you don't want to place your lab on, like, say, this coal patch or this iron patch, because the miners are going to use that area later. Once we make the lab, place it in the power pole zone and start making red packs. So go ahead and right click a couple times on the automation science pack here, or the red pack. Once we have made a few, put the red packs into the lab. So we're just going to shift click it in there. Then once we do that, we'll hit the T key or click the research box at the top right here. This brings up the research tree. One thing you may have noticed is this tree is massive. You can sink hundreds of hours into this tree forever because there are endgame techs that you can keep researching forever. Now we will click automation in our tech tree and click research like this. So we click automation, it's already selected, so click start research. Then exit out of the research section by hitting escape or hitting the research button again. The lab will start working. Make sure you keep feeding it with red packs. So we got some more red packs here. Go ahead and just keep feeding that, and we're just going to keep making them. Looks like our research finished. Let's go ahead and choose another one. This time we have many different options. If we were playing on a very dangerous map with lots of enemies like Death World, then we would want to get military as quick as possible along with gun turrets and stone walls. However, since it is on peaceful and it's our first time, the next logical choice would be logistics. So we can get splitters and underground belts. So click logistics. Start research. Okay, we researched automation. It's time to make our first assemblers. Go ahead and make one by hand. So basically, I'm going to click on production tab here, go down, click on assembly machine, bam, and wait for it to make. Now that it's built, place it in a power field, like right here. The first thing we want to build are gears. Gears are an intermediary item, meaning they are just used to make other items and have no use themselves. So go right here, left click the assembler, you left click intermediate products, and you left click gear. Okay, now the assembler is set to gears. Then we are going to stretch a belt over like this. So this, then like this. Oh, forgot to keep our coal box filled, so we had to go ahead and do that real quick. So we know about inserters already. If you don't know about inserters, go ahead and recap, or make sure you watch part 1 in this series. Place a few of them like this. And we'll make some right here. We're gonna stick the box right here. Throw some iron plates in the box, so we're gonna take these iron plates and throw a whole bunch of them in there. Now connect power to everything like this. Watch it all work. So watch it work, see? Now the inserter on the bottom should be spitting out gears like this. These guys right here, see the gears? Take a second inserter and place it next to the box like this, and hook up a belt like I'm doing here. Now let's make a second gear assembler on this line like this. Go ahead and make the assembler by hand. Making things by hand means that you're not using an assembler to make them. So from now on, that's what that means when we say making an item by hand, which means you're making the item, the assemblers are not making the item. Okay, we made the assembler, placing it down. Place another couple inserters like this. Set it to gears again. So we've got gears set up. Let's put them to good use. We are going to add a belt assembler to this line. So make another assembly machine by hand. Place it next to the gears like this. And instead of placing the solid bar next to the assembler, we're going to face it towards the belt. Now when we set it to belts, it'll start working. And we'll place an inserter here and a box. Plus a power pole. Power it up, and there we go. Look, now we don't have to make belts anymore. Go take the belts out of the box when you have enough. Well, that's plenty. And it'll just keep stuffing belts in there as long as you've got iron. So how did this thing work? Well, I'll show you. Open the assembler. Each assembler recipe has items you put in, like this iron right here. I like to call them input items. Items that are produced by the assembler, I like to call output items. These gears right here, this is the output item. Usually an assembler only has one item it outputs, but most recipes can have 2 or more items that it needs as input before it can craft something. In this case of belts, it needs 2 items. It needs an iron plate and a gear in order to work. So, and its output, of course, is belts. Some items can only be made in assemblers, and eventually you will want most of your everyday use items being crafted by an assembler. The goal eventually is to do as little handcrafting as possible. So automation is everything in this game. Automation and logistics, of course. You generally need inserters to put things in and take things out of the assembler. So that's what we did. We made inserters put iron into the assemblers right here. Then we had inserters take items the assembler crafted out of the assembler and put it on the belt or in a box. Notice the belt assembler took the gears that the gear assemblers made and used it and the iron plates on the other belt to make belts and place them into the box. Rats, we made our first factory. Now we are going to expand that factory. See the iron plate setup we made in part 1 right here? Now we are going to take that and connect it to where our box is so we don't have to manually fill the box with plates to keep it running, like this. Just like that. Let's go ahead and put some limits on the boxes like we did in part 1. Because apparently these inserters are collecting the iron plates too fast, and that's because there's no limit on this box. See, our iron box has more than enough plates. It's better that we let the belt send more iron plates to the factory by limiting this box here. So set it to like 4. See that? The belt is filling up. When it's full like that, even while the factory is working, that is often a good indicator that more assemblers can be attached to this belt before the belt begins to run short on resources, like right here. That's a basic rule though. Eventually you want to look up ratios and maybe even do some math. For instance, the best ratio for electronic circuit or green circuit assemblers is 3 copper wire assemblers connected by inserter to 2 green circuit assemblers. Now let's do the same thing for our belt box. Go ahead and limit it right here. It's got about 3 stacks. There, 300 to 500 belts at a time. That should be enough to supply our needs without hogging all the belt's resources. Now we are going to put automation science packs, or what I'll call red packs, on the line here. First, let's see what the red packs recipe requires. We go to red packs, it requires 1 copper plate and 1 gear. So we're going to need to do here what we did with iron just a minute ago. So we'll go up to the copper setup. Take this belt. We're gonna make it around. Oh, we need to grab the belts that we made. This is why we made belts, so that we didn't have to make these by hand when we ran out. Because you're going to use a lot of belts in your time playing Factorio. Go ahead and snake it around the resource patches. You'll see why I drug it here and not the other side in a second. Another thing we got in addition to assemblers when we researched automation was long-handed inserters or long inserters. Long inserters, these guys right here, can take an item from 2 blocks away instead of 1 like with normal inserters. They also insert 2 blocks away from their center. Here, I'll place one down. Go ahead and go like this. Power field on it. Once we power it, see how it takes the copper plate from 2 blocks away and places it 2 blocks away on the opposite side? By the way, go ahead and put your long-handed inserter on the 4 key or the 4 hot button bar on the right of the big gray 1 button, middle of the screen. So this button right here. You want to take the long-handed inserter and put it right here. So we're going to make a red pack assembler next before we get to the next part. Okay, we made an assembler and we're going to set it to red packs. You may notice that if we put a long-handed inserter here, see, the inserter took the copper from 2 blocks away and put it into the assembler. It is both 1 and 2 blocks away from the long inserter. In other words, as long as part of the assembler is where the long-handed inserter is inserting, it will work. Now we place a yellow inserter here, and now we need to make an output setup for the red pack assembler. In this case, we're going to output onto the belts at the top, like this. Now let's add some more red pack assemblers. Well, let's add about 3 more. Okay, and we're going to set them up one by one like this. Oops. Like this. Here's a neat trick. Holding shift and right clicking with your mouse button hovered over the red pack assembler, like this, shift right click, will copy the object's configuration. In layman's terms, it will copy the assembler's current recipe, which is red packs. Now hover over each blank assembler, hold shift and left click them. Left click, left click, left click. And then we're gonna finish setting them up. Adding some inserters. Inserters to place them on the belt. Awesome, we now have automated red packs. Now, we could pick them up by hitting F off the belt, but why would we want to do that? Let's move the lab and hook up the red pack directly to the lab. But first, here's yet another trick. We will set up what's called a buffer chest like this. Grab inserter, the box right there, grab the inserter, place the lab, and power them. Now the production of red packs is not limited to how long the belt is. You will see why this is so important later when you go through long periods without actively researching something. We'll limit this box like we did the others. Unless you know what you're doing, it's usually a good idea to put limits on your boxes. In this case, we will set it to hold 3 stacks of red packs. A stack is a square of stackable items. Max stack sizes vary. In this case, the red pack stack size is 200. Only 45 right now, but it'll stop and start another stack when it reaches 200. So with the 3 stack limit, we are limiting the belt to 600 red packs. Now we set up the lab so that the red packs are automatically being fed into it. As you can see here, no manual handcrafting or inputting is required anymore. The lab is researching on its own. It is kind of going slow though, so let's add some more labs. So let's just make some more labs by hand. Okay, and we've got them made. Add the inserters and go ahead and power each one of them. There, now watch the inserters take the red packs out of the lab to their left and put the red packs in the lab on their right. This process repeats until the far right fills with 2 red packs, as you can see here, which is the max number of red packs an inserter will put into the labs. You can put more, but the inserter cannot. So the lab on its left fills with 2, and so on and so on. As you can see, this has 2 now, and this has 2 now. So each slab is filled with red packs. As you can see, they keep doing the same thing. They keep moving it over to the right. This fills up, and this fills up, and then this fills up, in that order. This is called, quote, daisy chaining. You generally want to do this with labs until you reach mid-game, and you can just keep adding labs. Let's go ahead and add 2 more. Place these right here. And that's it. We've got research automated and functioning. Now, you can't use copy-paste commands unless you've gotten robots already, but you can use blueprint commands. Go ahead and blueprint this factory so you don't have to guess how to build it again by following my instructions. Go ahead and do this. So you want to click this button right here, Blueprint Library. Click it, select New Blueprint, click New Blueprint, and then left-click and drag over your new setup, and then let go. Now this should pull up. If not, try it again. The first thing you want to do is edit the label. So click this right here, and say for this video, we're going to type in red pack belt factory. Capitalize it. And then you're going to click over here, create blueprint, the top right of the window here. Click it. Now, it should be in your hand. Don't press any number keys when you've got it like this, or you'll have to do this all over again. Immediately go over with your mouse without pressing any buttons and click Blueprint Library again, this button right here. And then you want to put it in right here, left click anywhere in this empty box here, where underneath where it says My Blueprints, the My Blueprints box. And bam, we have Red Pack Belt Factory right here. So then when we go to place it down, we can place it again and left click, and it'll place a ghost for us, and it'll basically tell you and show you where all the stuff is going to be. You won't have to do guesswork and figure out where every little piece is going to go again. So that's how you use blueprints. In part 3, I will talk about getting more power to our now expanding factory. If part 3 is not out yet, go ahead and subscribe and hit notifications to know when I upload it. I have a Twitch channel. Stop by and say hello sometime. We also have a Discord, and we are active. Come join House Valerian. If you want to support my work, I have a Patreon page. Go ahead and check it out. Links are in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.